Well, hello and welcome to today's video. So we're going to be talking about graphing of inequalities. And so before we get started, let's talk about what our inequality symbols are. And those are the less than, the greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, and the not equal. Now, I had somebody tell me that, well, you don't know whether the first one that I wrote is less than or greater than, that it's all according to which way your variable is. And no, that is not true. When it faces to the left, it is always the less than symbol. And when it faces to the right, it is always the greater than symbol. So that's always going to be the case. So let's go ahead and get started with the graphing piece of it. So remember, if we have an open dot, that is our greater than or our less than, and our closed dot is going to be greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. So let's just jump in and do some examples. So if I have x is greater than 4, then that means I am going to put an open circle because 4 is not included, and it is going to be everything to the right. Now, when I ask you to graph, I do want you to not graph on the line. I want you to actually come up above the line a little bit. You don't have to maybe do as much as I did, but somewhere go up above and over. My reasoning is because some of you guys use a pencil and you use it really light, and it's really hard to see where you're actually graphing. So if you go up a little bit and then over, it's going to make it a lot easier. Number 2. X is less than or equal to a -7. So since it is equal to, okay, since we have the equal to symbol, then it is going to be a closed at a -7, and less than means to the left. Number 3, X is greater than or equal to, again there's an equal to, so add a -2, and then we're going to go right. Okay, so greater than is always going right, less than is going to go left. If we have x is less than 11, then I'm going to have an open circle on 11 and my arrow going to the left. Okay, so hopefully that's not anything new. That's just a review. You remember that information. So we're going to add to it just a little bit. So we call this one that you did inequality notation. Inequality notation. The next one that we're going to look at is what's called interval notation. And interval notation is probably going to be new to you. It is to most kids at this level. So the interval notation is going to use your infinity symbol. Now, what's the infinity symbol? Well, it is the symbol that looks like this, and we put a negative in front of it to mean negative infinity, and we put a positive to mean a positive infinity. The other thing too, and I'm going to go through several different rules and then we'll put it all together. One of the rules is that when you're doing the infinity symbol, it will always have a parenthesis with it. So what I've actually written there for you is from a negative infinity to a positive infinity would be the same thing as all real numbers. Okay? The other thing, negative infinity, guys, will always be on the left. Okay? And your positive infinity will always be on the right. Okay? Now, the other thing to know, guys, when you're doing interval notation, okay, it is going to look like a point, okay? You're going to have some number, comma, another number. The number on the left, okay, is always the smallest number, okay? The number on the right is always the largest. So if you say, okay, how do I know which way I write it? Well, the left is always the smallest, the right is always the largest. Okay? So what I like to do is look at your graph, and I kind of think left and right, okay? So when I look at this, on the left, what I see is a closed circle, okay? Well, with interval notation, guys, okay, with interval notation, what we do is the bracket, and what a bracket looks like is this here, okay? A bracket means the same thing as included or closed, okay? So a bracket means the same thing as if I had a closed circle. Whoops, sorry about that. Okay? A parenthesis means the same thing as an open. Okay? So parentheses indicate open. So in this case, watch what I do. On the left, okay, it is a close, so I'm going to put a bracket at a -3, which means it's closed at a -3, and it goes to, so then I always say what's on the right. The right is that arrow, meaning that it goes to positive infinity. Okay, so let's try 6. Take a minute, think about what I just said. So first off, left, right. So on the left, it's open. Again, open means parenthesis. It's at 8, and it goes to positive infinity. So anytime your arrows here, guys, goes right, that always means positive infinity. So open at 8, parenthesis at 8, positive infinity. Okay, I'm going to give you just a minute. I want you to think about what it might look like here. Okay, we're going to put left and right. So this time on my left, what I see is an infinity symbol. Okay, arrow going on and on. But it's on the left, so remember on the left, guys, is your negative infinity. On the right, what we see here is a closed dot at a -1. So -1 and closed means bracket. Okay, let's try one more. Again, you don't have to put the word left and right on there. I'm putting it on there to show you how we look at it. And so when I'm talking to y'all, I'll always say what's on the left and what's on the right. So on my left here, I have, again, it is going to a negative infinity, parenthesis all the time there. And on the right, I see a open circle at 5. So 5 and parenthesis. The way I think of it, guys, is to me, this is a parenthesis. It's kind of not as harsh, maybe. This to me is kind of harsh. It's closed, okay? Where this is kind of like open arms, okay? That's just me. Okay. Now, that's interval notation. So we've got the inequality notation, which looks like this. We've got the interval notation, which looks like this. And now we're going to talk about what's called set notation. Okay? Set notation is really just another way to write inequalities, and it just adds one extra step to it. So what it adds to it is out in the front, we're going to write this the braces, okay, and x, and then we put a line. This reads as x such that, and then we just write our inequality stuff. And so maybe we might write x is greater than 5. Okay? So that would read as x such that x is greater than 5. Okay? So you've got 3 different types of notation that we're going to use. So there's inequality notation, there is interval notation, and there's set builder notation.